seagulls follow trawler. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you very much.
Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Don't back down, double doon. Don't back down, double doon.
Yes, here we go. The Bhoycie bus is back. It's the Double Doon Show. Good to see so many people in the comments. Sorry we're a wee bit late. Knowing my luck, you probably still can't hear me. I don't know what is going on with this tech side of things, but I'm just too busy on my own wee bus, if you like, to ever work out how to solve IT problems until the very last minute when Big John Tomlinson gave me a dig out. Basically by saying I was going all jittery, which I still think I am to a point, but everyone's used to it by now. Brilliant to have you all with us. We've got a big guest tonight. Big guest. He is from the Endless Celts pod. It's a fantastic podcast. I big it up as often as I possibly can on the show. Not because I need to, not because it's cheesy to be friends with everyone, because it's good. And it is my honour to have John Tomlinson on tonight with us. John! Yes, mate. How you doing?
What's happening? I'm buzzing, Bhoycie. I'm buzzing.
Oh,
Glad to be here.
That is the most muted buzzing I've ever.
I'm fucking buzzing, mate. I'm buzzing.
I'm absolutely delighted, mate.
Sounds like a golf commentator.
This could be a big moment for Tiger Woods.
Nah, well, it's brilliant to have you on, mate. And as always, we're delighted to be sponsored by fanboyfootball.com. The collection is a wee bit delayed, but it's getting closer. There will be Bhoycie bus merchandise, and I am buzzing with that. Anyway, John, obviously, I've given you the build-up about the pod. We've known each other a year now, over a year since I first appeared on your pod. Now, I happen to notice tonight, that there's episode 99, do I believe that's the truth? Episode 99?
We've hit episode 99, mate, yep. Almost
That's
at the 100
class.
milestone.
And do you know what? It takes a lot of dedication to do that because, see, to be completely honest, I struggle with the motivation. I love this bit, right? But I'm one of those, I'm lights, camera, action. See all the setting it all up and doing the bio and
Oh, you're
it takes
teaching to the choir, Bhoycie.
it takes effort, and at times it puts me off. I'm like, fuck this, man. Like sitting away tapping at a keyboard. It's never been my thing, really. Do you know what I mean? However, we are here. I apologise for it being a quieter week on the bus this week. I know we've only did the Double Doon Show last Friday. we did the midweek post-match push, and that's been it. So everyone must think I'm slacking, but like I always remind people, I've got a full-time job. I don't get paid by rich people to do this, so I put in as many hours as I possibly can. Anyway, John, we better talk some Celtic, but tell us a bit about your podcast first and foremost.
So I'm one of me and Stephen started Endless Celts just over a year ago, like you said. We're just approaching episode 100, but it's been fantastic. And credit to all the boys as well that we got on it. Franny, William, we shout out to all them, Ross,
Gentlemen,
Anthony, all cracking guys, all know their stuff. And I mean, they've helped make it what it is as well. So it's been a great journey. Like I say, I've loved every minute of it. I saw somebody post a comment there saying I've been missing for a few months on the Endless Celts podcast. So people who might be watching this and have seen my show, our show, so to speak, might not actually recognise me because I'm not on it as often as some of the other guys. But I've had some other sort of issues personally. Aye, there you go, Stephen. Nice one. So I'm thankfully getting to the latter end of the issues that I've been facing as of late. So I should be back on.
That's brilliant to hear, pal.
Franny, you're referring to this? Shameless
Well,
plug?
I think that's clever though what you've done. And the thing is, if you've ever watched your podcast, the intro bit and all that's class. You know, you've got the music going on, the cool graphics. It's my understanding that whilst you might not have been on the show, that's all you, isn't it?
I still keep the engine running, Bhoycie. All the graphics and that.
See, you're good at all the stuff I'm murder at. We should just break a breakaway, John, because this would work perfect.
Jump ship.
Anyway, we better talk some Celtic. There's a nice comment coming from Martin, so that is good. Now,
Nice one, Martin.
it was another week that passes, yet we're still 3 points clear. The season is beginning to give me Strakanira vibes. You know, and I don't mean midweek so much, because I actually thought, we'll get to midweek. I actually thought Sunday you were going, oh my God, we've managed to blow this lead to a slender point or whatever. They'll definitely win at home. And very much like in Strachan's season where you felt, I think it was 07-08, Mind the Gap season, you thought, we've had too many stumbles here by now that it's not going to work. And yet, the opposite, the other team, the rivals, whatever you want to call them, Sevco, if that makes people happy. I mean, Rangers, like whatever you want to call them, they seem to be having a rockier road than us. And it's all about who has the least rocks on the road, I think, between now and the end of the season. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we're on agreement on Sunday when we dropped points to Hibs. I think most of us were just kind of hung our heads. We're on a bit of a shite mood. I know we all were. I mean, we were even arguing in our group chat as well. Like, it just wasn't going well at all. But then, like you says, Rangers have dropped a lot of points since the turn of the year as well. And thankfully for us, they did so again. So we managed to maintain that sort of 3 point lead. So it's definitely going down to the wire. But I want to say it's exciting, but it's nerve-wracking stuff.
It's nerve jangling. There's no getting away from it.
Absolutely.
It's nerve jangling. But the thing is, right now, I just feel Celtic have maybe in that second half, midweek, they've maybe had their dip, John. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think the dip was, I thought the Bodo Glimt experience left me, you know, a bit disappointed, to be completely honest with you. I felt it was a match. I bored everyone with that, but I felt that was a winnable tie that we, for some reason, never showed up at in either leg. I think that then carried on a wee bit into the league form. I thought the fact we were took to school a wee bit in Norway, it was never a contest, Julie. I don't mean that nasty. It's not about being over negative. It's about telling the truth. The Celtic were flat and they were poor. And I thought that, I said after the first leg, right, I said the one thing that worries me is a team that's been unbeaten all year, loses, and it festers, right? And it's so easy for it to happen. And luckily for us, we bounced back. The second leg, I felt that was a wee bit of that festering from, there's a negative mindset creeped in. Do you know what I mean, John?
Yeah,
Like, see when you get beat like that and you didn't really lay a glove. I think that then played into the Sunday game. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. But the way I seen it was almost it was the sequel to Thursday's disappointment in Norway. I know some folk didn't care about Norway. That's fine as well. But the fact is, I'm watching a football team in the park. The performance was flat on Thursday and it was mirrored on the Sunday. I panicked. Yet, again, though, we find ourselves still 3 points clear after the Sunday because the other team, for whatever reason, and you could say there's 4 or 5 years of reasoning to say that the reason they didn't respond is because they don't like this time of year in a league title race. And that might actually be the best thing for us. Normally, we're race clear by now. What we're finding is we're still a new team. We still are. And I think
Absolutely.
it's a very inexperienced side that we've got, John, in terms of league title winners. How many are there in that team? I know Callum McGregor and James Forrest would have enough trophies between them to spread out between the whole squad. But the case is, a lot of that team haven't been in this sort of position. We should be expecting rocks on the road. The champions of the COVID season, whatever you want to call it, and they were deserving champions, so they were. But they seem to have refound the skeletons that were in their closet from the few years under Gerrard prior to the title win. That's playing into our hands. I just feel the Strachan era vibe that I'm trying to say about. Do you remember that, that at times Strachan won 3 titles in a row. Martin O'Neill didn't win 3 titles in a row. And I never look back at Strachan's era with the same fondness I do Martin O'Neill's team. And I think that is because at times there was a lot more slip-ups along the road with Strachan's. It's just the road was rockier for our rivals. Does that stand us in good stead?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things I think we've learned this year is Ange has obviously instilled this never give up mentality, which I think is fantastic. And credit to them because, like you mentioned, after that, the Bodo Glimt, first leg and second leg, you've got heads can drop and negativity can sort of fester and it can spread. And there's every chance other teams don't bounce back for that. That heats drop and then that's the season done. But at the same time, it's like you see Rangers, no credit to them. They got a fantastic result against Dortmund, but they still slit them up as well. The European hangover is a real thing. It's no like something. It's not just a term that's coined. It's like these teams go out and they gear 100%, and sometimes it comes off, sometimes it doesn't. And unfortunately for us, we were outmatched, and there was the sort of concern that was going to sort of spread, heats would drop, negativity. But I think Ange showed that this team are up for it this year, and now all we've got today is focus on domestic competition. We can put that behind us, and now we can just sort of look forward and focus on what's there 9 games left? Around about that.
9 left in the league. Yep.
So just focus on that. We don't need to worry about nothing else now going forward. So I think that's going to stand us in good stead. And like you said, we're obviously in a fortunate position as well that Rangers have, since the turn of the year, they've blinked a few times and they've dropped 11 points or something, which has brought us right back into it when they thought they were going to run away with it. So
yeah,
I think nerve-wrangling, nerve-wracking, whatever you want to call it, it's definitely one of the years.
Aye, and I think the nerve-jangling thing you're touching on, I know what you're saying with that, and that's twice you've already mentioned the nerve-jangling, and I get it. I think we all felt a wee bit. We'll move on to midweek. I felt just very quickly, I felt on Sunday, I knew it was going to be 0-0 after about 70 minutes, and usually you always carry hope, and I kind of, that's not going to happen today. No matter, we could play for another 2 hours, that'll be 0-0. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or they'll score. It just wasn't there. But what I really enjoyed was on Wednesday, whatever happened at half-time worked. And the difference in that Celtic team once they got the goal, it's like the ghosts of the last 2 games all just came off their shoulders. Everyone started playing again with a bit of freedom. I thought that was brilliant to see.
Absolutely.
And I think that's... Yeah, go on.
No, sorry, boys. I was just going to say that you mentioned that goal seemed to be a turning point, and I think you're absolutely spot on because we hadn't scored in 3 or so games or whatever it was, including, I guess, the European ties. But there was that sort of where you're no scoring, and then that can affect your confidence as well. So I think that getting that goal just after half time, obviously, just kind of got a wee bit of confidence back and sort of gave them that wee bit extra just to keep going. Do you know what I mean? So, I think the goal mattered and it made a big difference.
It did, and you know what? The energy I felt in the Celtic team, the pressing all just seemed to make more sense. It wasn't just Maeda being this only sort of lone ranger in the pressing. Celtic just, they grew in energy levels. This Desperado's making me burp, by the way. But like, you could tell Celtic's confidence levels just seem to go from 0 to 100 just so quickly. And what I'm hoping now, like when I talk about festering, like a negative result festers into the next game or mindset or whatever, I'm hoping the second half we've seen against St Mirren is now them back, like they've switched on again. They're going,
I agree. Yeah.
that's where we maybe lost our way for a wee bit there. What happened? And now they're back. And I felt that second half display, I thought the subs helped massively. But I also think even, the first goal was so crucial. You just seen a turnaround in them. Now, there's two ways to look at that. People could say, well, that's a bit weak because you need to be, you need to keep going. You need to be playing at that level to win these matches in the first place. That could have been 0-0. What, are they only going to turn it on, after 91 minutes if they got a goal? Whatever, I get that. But for whatever reason, the difference and the mind shift I felt on the side was quite there. Your eyes don't lie. You could see the confidence back in the players. You could see the more Carl Starfelt was getting closed down with Carter Vickers. And obviously they're prone just to passing between each other, right? And I've commented on that before. St Mirren's game plan was to put pressure on them, force them into a forward pass. Well, suddenly we get the goal, and Starfelt's playing that forward ball with a bit of zing in it. Cameron Carter-Vickers is probably more confident on the ball anyway, but you could see the confidence just oozing back into the team again. I thought James Forrest came on and had his best, I know it's a sub-appearance, but I thought it was the best I've seen him yet this season. I know that's not saying a lot. He's not had the best
For quite some time, man.
I think he looked like he had a bit of va-va-voom again. Tom Rogic looked like he'd been on the naughty step and he'd came out to prove a point. He looked more like it again. So there's a few wee things that went on that I think now, if we're going to let previous performances carry on, festering in the next, let's hope it's that second half display against St Mirren, John.
No, definitely. But I fully agree with everything you've just said, Bhoycie. I mean, like that I think that goal was a massive turning point, as I said. And you're at risk. Let's say that game, right? We know we won 2-0, but thankfully. But let's say that you go another game where you're no scoring, and that finishes in another draw, and then you've got pressure back on you as well. Yeah. It's like lesser teams, they crumble in these sort of circumstances. And like I said, you've seen it this year. Ange's got this team playing incredible football. We're dominating games. Like some of the defensive side of things has been a bit iffy, but we're still the best defensive record in the league. That being said, but we're still conceding silly goals. And you just look at it and you can see the sort of style. And like you mentioned earlier, this is still a new team. They're still essentially inexperienced. They're still learning to play with each other. They're still learning to play a new system.
Totally agree with that.
It takes time to bed that in. The fact we're even at the stage we're at this far into the season, I think if you'd have said that we'd be 3 points clear at this point in the season at the start of the year when we just go Ange in, and given the turnaround as well and the players we'd got, you'd a bit the hand off. So I think it's a fantastic achievement to all the boys. Like I say, they're digging in, they're playing the football that Ange wants to be played. It's no there yet, that's evident, we can see that. But it's definitely on the right track. And once we hit that and we get to that sort of point, give it another year or two, then Bodo, we'll be doing to teams what Bodo Glimt done to us. And that's where I think like Bodo, they've been playing a similar style of football like that, but they've had years to bed that in. And they know this sort of situation, the way to play and everything else. And that when you look, the way they carved us open is the way we are carving open teams in the SPFL at the minute. So I think that's the levels that you're sort of aiming for. And it's coming and it's exciting. But like I say, just need to focus on these next few games.
That's an interesting point you make though about Bodo there, John. Because I actually said they remind me of Celtic. See, in the first leg, I went, they remind me of what we were doing, maybe, for example, earlier on in the season at Betis. That's kind of what it reminded me of. Betis were like, they were shell-shocked. And obviously they had the, very the luxury players that had cost a fortune that eventually they could turn that tie around. But I thought what Bodo Glimt does reminded me in that opening 20 minutes of what we were doing to teams early in the season. I thought we got played at our own game. And I think, to be fair, the quality they showed was, I think it was good for us. It was healthy. Sometimes getting beat's good for you. You stop believing your own hype. Other people, their head goes down. I know people want to say, well, lucky it was in Europe. I would have liked to have made a better fist of Europe. I can't deny that. However, first and foremost, we're all in agreement is the league. It's where the priorities wrangle further down the run that I have my bickers with people about, because I think no matter what European competition it is, that comes before a Scottish Cup or a League Cup to me. That's my opinion.
No,
I know that's not the most popular.
No, I mean, you're absolutely, you want to do well in Europe, and I mean, you can dominate the Scottish landscape for as many years as you like, but Europe's where you make your mark. And if you go back to, like you mentioned, the O'Neill era, the Strachan era, and that, the European nights were what everybody lived for. You were winning. Obviously, you went through that other 9 in a row that we got, and we always fell short when it came to the European ties in some cases, and you missed out on the big nights. And we all love that, and you want to do well in Europe, absolutely. But this year, the odd years, Europe's always had a backseat for me, because it's winning the title back has been priority number one. And I said it at the start of the year as well. Like, I would love a run in Europe, absolutely, even if it is in a conference league, regardless. But if it's one less thing for, like I said earlier, it's one less thing to focus on now, and we can just sort of get the heads down and grind out these last few games. And let's say is winning the league and getting automatic qualification into Champions League next year is far more important. Absolutely massive.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's comments coming in as well, reminding us of the fact, like Glasgow CSC comes in. I mean, should we win the league, it won't be till the summer until we actually realise what Ange has done. He's had a gargantuan mountain to climb in. I get that. Absolutely. I think everyone's aware of it. But the only thing I think from Ange's point of view, he was as aware of the criticism at the start of the season, and at no point did he think it was unwarranted. At no point. He basically said, I know there's only one way to succeed here, and that's winning football matches. Three wins, 3 defeats in the league, and you're going, if this is all that... And I think what maybe didn't help his cause with some fans at the start of the season was the kamikaze nature that was sort of his sort of persona. We were all thinking was, all he cares about, he'd rather draw than win. You know what I mean? He'd rather draw 4-4 than win 1-0 or something. That idiot Japanese sports journalist who's been on every pod in the world. I mean, what a career he's made of himself from Ange getting the gig. And I thought, that doesn't sound like... I don't think any manager, if they say they get the job, truly believes that we would rather draw. I think Ange has been the most honest out of everyone. On you go.
I was just going to say that's absolute pish, that.
Aye. And I think Postecoglou's kind of always been like, I know it's not been good enough when it's not been good enough. I think there was a lot of fans that you weren't allowed to say that. But I always felt any criticism I gave of Ange was holding him at the standard that he holds of himself. But everyone takes that, it's personal, or you don't know anything about him and stuff. And I disagree with all that nonsense. I think everyone's there to be criticised when it's not going well. But by God, as Glasgow CSC suggests, if this was to happen this season, he'll get all the praise in the world and deserve it off everyone as well. The exact same way it should be. Do you know what I mean? Phil McKinley, yes, Bhoycie, putting Dan in his place. We're going to do a few more comment readouts tonight than always. Now, I'm going to sniff your bus seat. Might not feature in as many of the read out comments as you would like, because I've no idea who they
That's
are.
That's a cracking name, by the way.
Yeah, it is an interesting one. You just never know with these people if they're fishing you in, and then they're gonna just say something that's just so bad. Sean the Mac, Angie's honesty is refreshing. Now, I've just said I'm going to read out comments, but he stole my thunder a wee bit because I did have this one pre-wrote. Here's one I made earlier, as Neil Buchanan would say on Art Attack. Kenny, whatever his name is, I can't even remember. What is it? Kenny McIntyre. That is who it is. Kenny McIntyre at the BBC is trying to have a negative vibe with Ange post-match after yet another win. We're three points clear still, right? And he says, and even the way he's saying, it was a tough watch. I've never heard pish like this in my life. when a team's winning football matches at the rate Celtic are in 2022. Do you think Gio got questions like that after this adjusted game? Did he fuck? Right? Would anyone else get away, though, like Ange does, of basically saying, who do you support, mate? And that is what he's effectively saying. He goes, well, it depends which way you wanted it to go, mate. Or, or if you're happy with the way it went, I think he said. Now, you think of that sort of rhetoric, right? I love it, right? I can't deny it. I think it was a scythe down. I thought, in your place, you want to duel with me, you're out your depth, because I'm capable of saying things. I think because Ange's demeanour, it's not all animated. So Ange just says everything in the same tone. When he's buzzing, like you were at the start of the show, he's buzzing. When he's raging, he's raging. Do you know what I mean? I think Postecoglou has a delivery that if you look at what he said, can you imagine? And I've done this a few times on the show, but I don't care. You imagine a year ago, Neil Lennon turns round and basically says, so you're not happy with the way it went, Kenny? Boom. That would have went mad. And I don't think in that positive light, even from our own fans, even if we were 3 points clear, I think we'd have looked at that in a completely different way. But what I feel is Ange, because he's not naturally or like born and bred emotionally invested in Celtic, I think it's so refreshing that you feel he's caught up already in 9 months with exactly how these hacks try and play the storyline and try 100%. And put you in positions of vulnerability and try and make your team look shite when it's doing well. And I think Ange, he knows his history, mate, I would say. And I think he knows his history because he's lived it already in 9 months. He's already seen enough to cut through the bullshit. Who's going to be next?
Sorry, you cut out there a wee bit. I didn't catch the end of what you said.
I said, who'll be next on Angie's hit list? Tom English? Who knows?
Did you see his comments today about the he's a rat, man. Absolutely.
He's a fucking ball bag, mate. And do you know the thing is, I played cricket, right? Growing up, no joke. I was a captain of a county team. I had a trial for Scotland at cricket. You don't even believe that, eh?
All right.
No joke. But the reason I played it was me and my dad died fucking about 10 years ago, right? And I felt a real tinge of sadness because that's one of my dad's heroes, eh? And that's how I got into cricket, was me and him in the garden path trying to copy what Shane Warne does. Now, anyway, that's another story, but I was sad about it. Anyway, see, today, Celtic share a photo of the late now Daffabet ambassador, who just recently did an interview with Celtic wearing Daffabet. They put up a photo I think was a heartfelt message, and it's been absolutely crucified by our own support. Oh, you can't resist putting the Daffabet thing in. I think everyone needs to take a wee break here. He's basically it's a nice profile photo of a guy with his sponsor on, right? And the reason we have a connection with Shane Warne now is because the Daffabet connection and obviously getting an interview with Ange, which I don't know if folk have watched it, was shit hot. Tom English doesn't at any point say condolences or gutted about the news about Shane Warne, but I find this class. All he aims at is Celtic. And it's time idiots like Kenny McIntyre, who have had it all their own ways for so long, because they knew how to just push Neil Lennon's buttons, and Neil Lennon bit. That's the problem. Neil Lennon does what every fan would do. But we need more from a Celtic manager. What happens to Postecoglou is he just shoots them down. And he's doing it with ease. But I'll get your take on both BBC journalists, if you like, John. You take it away.
If I start getting into the whole BBC journalism, I'll be here all night, Bhoycie.
Well, let's go with Kenny McIntyre and Tom English, because it's current.
I've nothing nice to say about either of them. I think they're both rats. I think that anybody who is like a BBC or claims to pose as a knowledgeable and educated sports journalist and then write shit like that deserves to be out of job. That it's absolute nonsense, and it's not the first time they've done it. It'll not be the last, no doubt. No. They'll continue to get away with absolute crass comments like that, and I think Celtic fans have got every right to call it out because it's shocking behaviour. But like I said, I could rant about the sort of mainstream media and how much I despise them for hours. I've done it on my podcast as well. I've spent many a time just going off and ranting about the media. But what I will say is Ange has definitely got their card, I think. And like you mentioned, Neil Lennon, he reacted in a different way because Lennon, he was brought up with it. He bore the brunt of it as a player, dealing with the media and negative aspects towards him from the media as well. And then as a manager, had to deal with it. So, like you mentioned, he's a fan at heart. He's dealt with it all. He's grew up with it all. He knows it all too well about the sort of toxicity in Glasgow between the Glasgow divide, if you want to call it that. And then you're saying, when he's asked a certain question, he reacted in a particular way, which is like, and quite rightly so. I mean, he's got every right to react in however he felt was necessary. Sometimes it didn't look too good on him, but he reacted how he felt it was warranted at the time. But like you said, Ange doesn't come. He's coming from outside. He's no goat that. Like, I think he's been well versed in how the media are going to try and get under his skin because they're notorious for it. And he's obviously had somebody in his ear telling him, "Didn't buy into any of the shit that they're printing, didn't buy any of the nonsense that they're asking you." But I mean, you go back and look at I think if you're anything like me, Bhoycie, when Ange was announced, you went YouTubing him straight away, and you seen these other interviews and that infamous interview where he was arguing with the reporter and all that. And we knew then, like, we were getting a guy in who was taking no nonsense, and that was the kind of thing. But the way he conducts himself when he does it as well, because he'll completely, like you say, he'll just completely slaps you about it. And in terms, when I love watching him, like, I think I've seen a few of the boys commenting as well in terms of the way he's interviewed. You can hear them, like you said, the tone, the way they sort of structure a certain question to try and make it sound negative and get under your skin, or to try and trip you up and pull the rug out from under you. And it's just got them all sussed at this stage, and it's absolutely he's a breath of fresh air.
Do you know the one thing that's funny is, at least if I could give any sort of crumb of comfort to McIntyre, is that he's got the brass neck to say it to Angie's face, knowing like Amir Khan did, that I'm being all bluff here, but I'm about to get absolutely banjoed, right? Like the other week. Now, Tom English hides behind his laptop, and he will describe himself as senior sports, senior sports writer for the BBC now. Senior sports wanker for the BBC. But you'll know if you ask him, what's your specialist subject? Rugby. He's now writing about boxing, I noticed, by the way, the other day. He's got an article about boxing, which I couldn't even bring myself to even read a paragraph of, because I thought, well, he knows nothing about football. Why another sport added to his bow would be any sort of clever move from his point of view, I don't know. But what he did online today, was worse than McIntyre. At least McIntyre went out and got a black eye off Ange. But McIntyre's that thick. He's just a transparent hack. And Ange Postecoglou has bought sweeties out of all their shops before. It's the best way to describe it. Ange has bought sweeties out of all their shops before. And he's going, honestly, you are out your depth. And see, when Kenny McIntyre thinks he's a dominating journalist, right? He tries to then talk over Ange once he gets put down. Ange just raises the voice.
Aye,
just that slight octave. Not even a lot. Do you know what I mean? A decibel louder. And it's just to remind him, I'm in control of this conversation, young man. You've went with a big bold point. Now pass me the reins, and you'll get them back once you've sat down and shut your mouth. Tom English chooses a moment of, for me, mourning across the whole sporting world. I watched Shane Warne's documentary film. I'm not making this pod about Shane Warne, by the way. But I watched his film only 2 weeks ago. And do you know what he told us on the screen, which I didn't even know? Cricket is the factual second biggest sport in the world. So when you then get the greatest spin bowler of all time dying in the second biggest sport in the world, I'm sorry, that is every sort of sports, different types of sports, clubs, whatever it may be, individual sportsmen's sort of right to pay kudos to that and share a photo of him. If anyone thinks deep down Celtic have sat, now I criticise Celtic for a lot of stuff, but if you think they've sat, man, got a photo of him in a Daffabet t-shirt. Oh, that'll look good. I think you're just now, it's almost getting pantomime stuff. It's bullshit. They found a photo of the Daffabet ambassador. They were probably sent ahead of promoting the interview with Ange and have shared it. This is not rocket science.
Aye.
And Tom English doesn't even have the decency to talk about Shane Warne's career in that tweet or say or pay his respects.
It's not even
All
that.
he is gunning for. Right, go on.
No, sorry, I don't want you to cut
No,
you off,
it's fine.
Bhoycie, but he's clearly he's not even read the fucking article. He's like, because if you read the article, you could see it was a heartfelt message, and Ange had a heartfelt message for him. They two obviously respected each other, and they were close, both Australian, grew up that way. They knew each other. They had that interview, as you mentioned. Like I said, that these journalists
were
have just
tight.
reached it absolutely anything. Aye,
You can see it.
I'm just like the whole fact that they're just so happen to be, or both, one's a Daffabet ambassador, one's sponsored by Daffabet is a coincidence. That's got absolutely fuck all to do with it. You've got one club.
Yep.
Sorry, mate. You've got one club
No,
paying the respects to somebody who also has a close link with the club's manager, and that's it. That's the extent of it. You're paying your respects to one of the all-time sporting greats, and then you've got some rat like that. Again, it's gutter journalism at its finest. Fuck them.
I find it extremely frustrating when stuff like that is jumped on by our own support who aren't, we accuse Celtic of not reading the room at times. Celtic have just put up a tweet with a photo of Shane Warne they will have had in their library because he had to do a show as part of the Daffabet sort of thing. We're sponsored by them. That's who Shane Warne is. They'll have been sent a portfolio before they did the interview with Ange to promote it. That is a photo shared from Celtic's, some portfolio they'll have been sent from their library, if you like. Okay? This is not about Celtic going, can we get a Daffabet mention it? What good's it going to do Celtic?
Absolutely none.
Where are folk getting that idea from? And I was very disappointed when I read all the comments below. For a lot of them from Celtic fans. I thought folk are trying now just to be outraged for the sake of being fucking outraged. I can't be bothered with that, eh? I'm like,
that's the day and age we live in now, Bhoycie.
I know. You're wanting to find flaws in folk just being sound. Glasgow CSC comes out. I can't disagree with this more. The Daffabet photo. Listen to what you're saying, mate. The Daffabet photo. It was a Shane Warne photo. This isn't rocket science, man. Like, folk are looking for trouble a wee bit too much. And what we shouldn't be doing is looking for it within ourselves, right? Because that ends up madness, especially when there's no trouble there to be found when Celtic pay their dues to a guy that was on their channel only last month, 2 months ago. January, I think he was on with Ange on a 2-part special. Folk forget that. And that whole thing was created by Daffabet. So Leila sent over a portfolio. The Daffabet photo. I mean, I love you, Glasgow CSC, but this has to stop. Tom English is a bam, and we're encouraging bams like that. You know what I mean? And I think the Kenny McIntyre thing, that's how you deal with the media from now on. When Neil Lennon's ranting and raving last year, you could almost see in amongst all his stuff with COVID. I actually got some of the points he was making, not all of them, but I got some of them. But they were lost in translation with his demeanour, he's ranting, he's raving, and that's what really didn't come over well. Ange does it in one sentence, John. How cool is it to have that guy at the helm right now?
I love it, mate. I think William as well, William for the Endless Celts, he loves it. We talk about it all the time. But anytime he's got an interview or he's got some sort of press conference, there's always something coming out. All right.
I feel bad now. Sorry, Glasgow CSC.
I think he's maybe just worded it a wee bit differently. There you go.
There you go.
Sorry, mate. Sorry, mate. I think it's definitely refreshing. Like I say, we talk about it all the time, and we actually I think before Ange came here, I couldn't give two shits about press conferences and the rest of it. I just wasn't interested because I knew the journalists were going to ask the same shit. They were going to try and trip them up. They were going to try and put a negative spin on everything. And it just got it was tedious and it got boring to listen to and watch and read about. But now I look forward to every press conference Ange does, every post-match, every pre-match, everything that he touches, just where they're asking him questions, because I know he's just going to slap one of them down, and I love it.
Yep. And you know, it's funny, because there's different ways and demeanours of doing things. Now, Martin O'Neill is 10 times more of an animated character than Ange Postecoglou. Or is he? Because see, when Martin O'Neill was giving his slapdowns to people, I'll tell you a funny story I was told, right? I know it's like from a journalist, right? You can join the dots here. So he's walked in to his first press conference, Martin O'Neill, his first one, into the press room, and before it's like 3, 2, 1, we go live, he just dips the glasses and says to the room, just so you all know, I have a very, very long memory. But says that that's how blunt Martin O'Neill said it. And they're all sitting there. All he's done is just take charge. And I think Postecoglou right now is taking charge in ways. I love a put down on this show, by the way. Like, I love, see when the other lot come in, they want to fire me money to slag me off. When I need to block them, I think I'm quite good at the put down, but I'm kind of animated. I'm probably giving them a bit of bait. Postecoglou looks at Kenny McIntyre and goes, "You've nowhere to run but try and talk over me." I think it's a wonderful way of dealing with him. But you then get the other side, the social media side, and when the journalists are now using social media like you would expect a Rangers fan to post what Tom English did today. I'm not saying he is a Rangers fan, by the way. I think he's just a twat. I just mean he is using that platform the same way an idiotic rival supporter would. He is not in any way, shape, or form, though, something we can deal with properly without a ban. And I'm not exaggerating. We've watched petty reasons for Chris Sutton being banned from a certain stadium. He's done fuck all but tell the truth. Chris Sutton slated Celtic when Celtic needs slated. It's not our fault that in the 15 years or the 10 years Sutton's been a pundit. We fucking won everything apart from one league title. It's hardly Sutton's fault. He's not had much to moan about. But when it was Ronnie Dyler, even when we were winning, he had a pop then. But he's banned. And I think it's time Celtic to take a wee bit of charge here. I wouldn't ban the BBC or anything like that. But if Kenny McIntyre wants to waste Postecoglou's time like that, or try and make Celtic look in a negative light when they remain 3 points clear, 3 clear at the top, after a 2-0 win against a team that put 100 brickies behind the wall, I just think that's, I don't know. What's your take on it? Do we need to be so welcoming to them?
It's dangerous. I wouldn't say dangerous, but you don't want to fall into the territory where you're doing it. You're going tit for tat, and it's like you don't want it to be seen as petty, or you're doing it just because they've done it type of thing. We're bigger than that. We're better than that. But I do agree to an extent. Like, see these journalists who get the airtime that they've got at the minute. I wouldn't give them that. Like, don't give them the TV time. Don't give them any of that push. Like, see if you want to talk to the manager, date with everybody else in a room post match with all the other journalists and the fan media and everybody else. Sit with everybody else and do it. Don't give them it with a microphone like post match onto telly and stuff like that and let them be. But at the same time, I love watching them getting absolutely slapped about Ange in these interviews. So we can keep letting it happen because they need put in their place and they've been needing it for years.
No, I agree, John. And obviously, we dip our toes in the old podcast world and all that, of Celtic fan media, whatever you want to call it. I think if you look at Ange's demeanour, I'll give an example. Last week, 4 Tims. It's Tony, who I know, well, I kind of know. I've met him, his sound is in. And he asked Ange a brilliant question last week. He almost can feel Ange's eyes are lighting up because he wants to give a brilliant answer. I think Postecoglou, when Don Mackay left, remember the fan media thing stopped? Stopped for a while. And no one knew what was going on. Now, nothing's changed boardroom level. I get the vibe. Postecoglou wants to be, and I don't think he wants everything just being like propaganda almost, like Celtic minds only. I don't think he wants it. I think he genuinely finds the questioning that he's getting from average Celtic fans or elite podcasters, whatever they think they are. I think he actually finds those questions though more open, more challenging, and more, I don't think easier to answer. I think they've got more depth to them. I think there's a transparency now in mainstream media. Like he is, I think you're right, by the way, when you said well versed in. I think there's a lot of truth in that. I think he does know his history. And I think right now, we've got the best guy to deal with what is potentially a shitstorm for the Hacks. A shitstorm. The guys who stopped the 10 in a row. This team was meant to go and win the treble this year. Nonsense. This team was meant to be absolutely out of sight by now. They're not. And I think everyone's knickers in a bit of a twist here. And the guy who's twisting the knickers isn't Chunks of my trunks in the comments. It's Ange Postecoglou. I love it, mate. I absolutely love it. Now, I go on.
No, I was just going to say I'm in the same. No, I was literally just going to say I'm in the same boat, mate. I'm loving it.
Aye, brilliant. Anyway, we need to look ahead. Livy away next week. They haven't won. We haven't won. It's 4 seasons. Now, I used to always use the argument, folk used to say, it's 2006 or something. I was like, well, they weren't in the league for the majority of that. But see, when you start reading, they've been back in the league that's their 4th season back in the league, and we've not won away. Now, I know some seasons we only played them once away. I get all that. But there is still something amiss there. What is it going to take, John? I've got my argument, but I'm going to let you come on this because I think I've spoken enough tonight. I think, what do you want to happen? Or what do you want to change from Celtic to ensure we get the 3 points? Because it's must win, as it always is. But particularly, again, it feels even more must win this Sunday.
No, I mean you're spot on. Like that is. See, when you think about it, like you says, it's been 4 years that we've no. It's quite harrowing to read that, and you almost want to go and check it yourself just to make sure it's right, because you're like, surely that can't be right. But I mean, let's listen. I'll give Livingston credit where it's due in terms of their defence against us. They always play the same way. It's the low block. They've got every man behind the ball. They make it difficult to break down. They mark the guys really well, and they're all big guys. They're strong guys. They like a physical game, and unfortunately, they've got the better areas in those circumstances. For me, obviously, like you said, it's must win. 3 points is an absolute must. And this game could be quite possibly the toughest game the rest of the season, by all accounts. I mean,
well, there's no other team in the last 4 years who've not managed to get away from home that I can think of.
No, I mean, and that just sort of makes you think. It's like we've noticed as well. Most games this season, teams are all playing the same way. We'll dominate possession. We'll take the game to them. It's how they defend that's going to be make or break. If they leave us any gaps and we find gaps, or if they come out and try and play us at our game, or they try and attack us, we'll cut them up and we'll score goals.
So, John, I've got an interesting theory on what you just said there. I'm going to slightly disagree. I don't think teams have always been playing this men against ball. I think if you look at the league as 3 rounds of fixtures, right, before the split, I think round 1 of the fixtures, everyone had a go at us. I think they thought we were there for the taking.
Oh, no, absolutely.
I think we were vulnerable. I think it was the second round of fixtures when we started clicking into gear that everyone's like, oh no. Then you get to the 3rd round of fixtures and it's now, as you rightfully say, it's now like just banks of 4 everywhere. I mean, St Mirren, it looked like had about 15 players in the park at one point. They had that many in their own half. Sorry, that's my take on that. Though. No, I think the start of the season, folk thought we were there, we were vulnerable, and now they are literally shiting themselves.
No, I mean you're absolutely right about that. I'll agree with that, because you seen the first few games of the season that when we were playing the likes of St Mirren, you're scoring 4, 5, 6 goals. That's not happening now, and there's a reason for it. It's because teams have they know that they can't come out and play as you cannot against Celtic. You can't come out and play football because we're just we'll carve you on. The best chance and they're happy to play for draws, which is the most frustrating bit. They don't seem they'll try and catch us on the counter where they know we're vulnerable, and if it comes off of them, which it did for Livingston previously, then they'll just continue to sit back and they'll hit us on the counter and hope something happens for it. But they'll be happy to play for a draw. I don't think they care. They're not coming to play us now with any sort of intention to win. And it's as long as we stick to our game plan and just continue to press them, I think we'll find openings. But a couple of things do need to change for me, because what I've noticed for Celtic as in these recent games, especially when against this low block. At the minute, we've got, I don't know what's wrong with Giacomakis, because he's been missing the past couple of games.
Unwell. He's not ill.
Right. So you're missing that sort of presence in the box anyway. And at the minute you've got Maeda, and this isn't any disrespect to Maeda. I think there's a fantastic player in him, but the delivery he's getting doesn't suit his game. And at the minute, our focus is you're going down the left or right wing and you're crossing the ball into the box, where 9 times out of 10 has 9-10 guys in that box, in the 18-yard box, and you're trying to find a man who, again, and I don't mean to sound disrespectful, but he's not the biggest guy. He's short. He's a wee guy, and that's not his game. And you're expecting him to get in the end of these high balls, and it's just not going to happen. But it seems, regardless of that, we're doing the same thing over and over and over again, hoping that it's going to work. I think we need to be playing more through balls and try to find these runs. And I think that's one of the things I think is going to come in time with Celtic in this style of football that Andrew's playing. We're still not there yet, like you said. We're still miles off where we want to be, but you can see the progression we're making, and I think that's the next sort of step, because you've got the guy. Andrew's brought in the likes of Maeda, Kyogo for the reasons, because these runs that they're making, you're trying to find them through. You try to get passes through behind guys and find them. I mean, let's say you need bigger guys in the box, or you need more men in the box if you're going to play this sort of wide game and crossing it in. So I'd like to see Ange. I mean, it's difficult to sort of say because he's a manager.
What do you want to happen, John? What's the changes you would make to Celtic to get a win? Forget Andrew's the manager. So good.
We just need to be playing more through balls, more through the middle, and
more direct,
quicker, a wee bit quicker in the terms of passing, because we're taking too long sometimes. Less passing back. Like if you've got it, you're pressing them and you've sort of squeezed them into the final third, and just pass it across the face of goal and try and find spaces. There's no need to try and draw them all out by passing it all the way back all the time, because we've seen it a couple of times. We've put ourselves in some difficult situations with it as well, and it just it's needless at times, I think. So it was just a wee bit more clinical in terms of finding a final pass, getting a through ball, and try to find the likes of Maeda, play to his game and his strengths, and I think he'll score a barrel load.
So, John, any personnel changes you would make?
Again, I don't know the situation with Giacomakis or whether he's going to be free.
Fit.
He's fit, but I'd start him because we know the style of football we're playing at the minute. So I would start Giacomakis. But nah, I mean, I would pretty much, I'd start Rogic as well, because I think when he came on against St. Mirren, he was one of the big difference makers. And again, this is, and we've said it as well, him and O'Reilly don't seem to work too well together. You've got two of the exact same player in the park. You need something a bit different. It's good to be able to alternate the two of them and freshen up legs, but I wouldn't start them together. So I would start I'd pretty much be the same team, but Rogic instead of O'Reilly and Giacomakis instead of Maeda.
For me, I would be playing Jota. The battle for me would be Abada and Maeda on the right. I think Maeda's offered a hell of a lot with his running. My biggest concern with Maeda for me would be, I think his first touch is right rotten at times, unnecessarily. And I think sometimes he's coming too far out his position if he's the number 9. I think he's so used to playing in a different role that I think he's like, you have to be more selfish, Dyson, right? So like you need to just walk about sometimes and then pick your run. And I think at times you feel him, he's going away for goal a lot with these runs, and it's frustrating. I mean, the amount of times you've seen him, there was an example against St. Mirren. He's gone for a near post header. He's about 4 or 5 yards by the near post, like to go make it, and you're going, I don't know why I actually just did it there. But, like, it's pointless. It's pointless. You're going, maybe, like, even Chris Sutton's going, that's a tough angle to score a near post header, Dyson. You know? And I'm like, I think he's better in a busy position. And I've got the feeling, I know Kyogo, we were told, wasn't maybe an out-and-out centre forward. I'm beginning to think Kyogo's been told by Ange, you are a fucking centre forward. That is going to be your position. I think Maeda's, I think the manager likes him, put it that way. It wouldn't surprise me if either Jota or Abada drop out, Maeda plays again, because I think the energy he's given us is brilliant. I just think it's getting utilised a wee bit wrong, and there's a lack of end product in his part, but it's not a witch hunt. It's the truth.
No,
we all know it.
absolutely.
His finishing's been a wee bit sloppy. His first touch at times has looked shabby. I think you should be considering which one you think's in better form, Jota or Abada. That's unthinkable to say that about Jota now, but do you know what?
He's been a bit off.
You know,
he has.
You're a hero at Celtic. You know, a season at Celtic, you know, it only takes 2 minutes to go from hero to zero. I'm not saying he's down at zero, by the way,
No.
for any way, shape, or form. But I think if it was me, it'd be Maeda and or Jota Abada, right? And then up top, Giakoumakis plays. And for the first time, David Martindale is about to find out how tough his players are. Because Giakoumakis does not give a fuck. Giakoumakis is from a different school, mate. Now, I know he's had injury problems. I know he's sick note right now. And I get all this. Watch when he plays. He's chaos. He should be called Chaos Giakoumakis. He's bonkers, mate. He doesn't even run all that coordinated. But see the way he ruffles up. He fights for every ball. But and I'm sure Maeda does. But Giakoumakis is doing it, like you were saying, with that physicality that Maeda just doesn't. His stature, his size doesn't have. It's time to roughhouse those bastards. You know that? And I want, and the right time for Celtics to score the type of goal they did midweek, a corner kick with a knockdown from one centre-half with another centre-half volleying it in. Ooh, I've not seen that in a while. This is the perfect time for us to get in the habit of doing that. But I'm telling you right now, you combine the Giakoumakis effect with starting to introduce set pieces as being Celtic bullying teams again. I remember, and I know we are a very slight team, to be fair. We are. It's a small side. I know Gordon Strachan blamed not qualifying for the Euros with Scotland on height. I'm not going as far as that. I just mean, I get to an extent why we're not successful from set pieces, but the record is atrocious. I mean, and that's even before Angie's team anyway. I want us to be going up to Livingston and going, firstly, we're a better football team than you. Secondly, if you want to try and bully us, wait till you see who we've got. We've got the battering ram, and the battering ram's going up top. And it's not Lyndon Dykes, it's Georgios Giakoumakis. Chaos Giakoumakis. He's the ace in the pack if we're to beat the Livingston Hoodoo, John. And I'll tell you this, I think the other side, and I don't blame them to an extent for it, I think the enemy are waiting with bated breath for what happens Sunday, because we go first, I think, again on Sunday. Or do they play? If I don't know when they play. Right, but we're playing Sunday at 12. But I think a lot of them are waiting with bated breath as to what we do, because our record at Livingston's poor. The ace in the pack is playing Big Gorgeous George. What is your thoughts on that? My passionate plea for Chaos Giakoumakis.
I fully agree, mate. I think Giakoumakis is going to be a difference maker. Like he says, if he's fit and he's ready, then starting him's a must, because we know, as we said, Livingston are going to sit back and they're going to defend. They're going to be resolute in their defending, and they're quite a big side. They're strong, they're physical, and we need to play them at their own game, like I said. So Giakoumakis is going to be the key that unlocks that, I think, absolutely. And like you says, I think Martindale's going to see a different side altogether. If Giakoumakis just gets in about them and just, like you say, just doesn't give a fuck, just rough them up, play them at their own game, then I don't think they'll be able to cope. But he still needs the delivery. So
yep,
we need to make sure that we're firing on all cylinders, I guess, so to speak. So it's going to be a tough game, but like you say, I completely agree. I think this is a massive point in the season for us, and I think that we can get through this with 3 points, we're all right.
Yeah, I think it's a huge one.
I think in terms of our confidence as well, because we know, like you say, it's 4 year. We've no beat them on their turf for 4 year, and put that to bed, and then that just kind of sets you up now, and you've got the next 8 games of the season to just sort of focus on, and as long as we keep doing what we're doing, we'll be all right. So I'm going to go 3-0 us. Way.
There you go. There you go.
I like that, Gary. I like it.
Yeah, I use it on the same page. I just think it's the first time I think we can propose something different to this Livingston side, because Livingston will be feeling, well, we know how to deal with Celtic, rough them up, make it, keep the ball in the air as long as possible, let it bounce about, and it's awkward wee ebbs and flows that the ball does on a plastic pitch, which confuse players, and don't water the park and all this bollocks. Well, if we can start scoring goals for corner kicks, from knockdowns, and we've got someone that we can use as a focal point to go long if needed, that's a big game changer for us. I think it's the first time, if Giakoumakis does prove to be completely fit, he must start.
Absolutely.
Because the one time we could throw a different dimension at them. And it's unbelievable the hype that Livingston away gets, but it's the results don't lie. I think Phil McGinley came in and says the last time we won at Almond Vale was against Gretna.
That's mental. That see when you hear stuff like that, you don't want to believe it. Eh? Like you want to go back and then just check it yourself, because I see some of these stats and you're like, surely that's not right. But I think the first goal is going to be absolutely crucial, boys. I think if we can score and make it relatively early as well, and then force them to, like, you sit back, it's not going to be a draw. You're going to lose the game. You're going to lose 3 points. You're going to need to come out and try and salvage it. So if they do that and then they create more space at the back for us, then that works. That plays into our hands as well. So I think it's paramount that we score first, we score early, and we let them know that keeping the ball in the air is not going to work for them anymore. So I think it's going to be key.
Francis, your man for endless Celts. The last time we won there, we spoke in the boozers. On that note, we will do. I've still got another talking point, mate. We've been on over an hour. This happens every week. I just love it, mate.
Has that been over an hour already? So it is.
Aye, mate.
Oh well.
The Oz chat though doesn't go away. I'm not warming to the idea of it, right? I don't like the idea. But seeing the meltdown unfolding in front of your eyes from every Rangers fan Twitter account and its auntie on the Rangers official Twitter page, tagging them in, abusing them, to now turn into them saying, we knew they would do something like this. It's been going this way for ages, right? To then Dave King coming out with both barrels and, shooting at his own club. I'm sitting there going, have Celtic created a complete masterstroke of, as we go in front, as we already put those seeds of doubt, let them bloom a wee bit in their head, then come up with this ridiculous thing. I mean, the whole tournament thing is embarrassing to me. I mean, I get it money-wise, but it is embarrassing. Is it all, though? All just been released so deliberately between the A-League and Celtic, called Angie's, what is it, Ange Ball World Tour. They're in meltdown over all this. They're turning on their own. And it's not even about the football now, but the football they're pissed off with too. I'm beginning to think the announcement of this tournament is a Jedi mind trick on Celtic's part. Okay, the moral side will look at, but no one will care once that league title flag's unfurled. I think this is another chink in the armour Celtic have managed to find in the enemy.
I've not even looked into that. That's it. Honestly, I've never thought about it like that.
I'm a master of the mind, John. If there's one thing I'm good at, it is psychology, mate. I just understand it. I know how people think.
But I mean, it's up. Let's see, when you consider it like that and you think about it like that, then it could be a masterstroke. And I mean, especially knowing how crucial this part of the season is, to have the fans, like their fans turning on each other and the club and a bit of turmoil and no finding their feet domestically and stuff like that, could play it right into our hands. I mean, it could be a masterstroke. But for me, I'm like you. I don't support it. It's no. We don't need it. The whole concept to get Ange come back in a tour of Australia, I love the idea. Australian expats that are out there, Celtic fans that want to see the club get the opportunity. I think that's fantastic. But we can do it without them. We don't need them. That's just a money fucking spinning thing, and they'll benefit for the financial side of it far more than we will.
Well, yes, and I think that's where the other concern is. You're doing something to keep them on, what would you call it, life support machine or whatever. Are you doing that because it's 2.5? I mean, they're The funny thing is, I mean, for whatever side anyone wants to slag Celtic off and all this, it was the Rangers board that announced the statement saying, "Oh, the money's the same as we get in a year in Scottish football. We couldn't turn it down." Now, no one knows the figures.
Do you know, it's
But
another
as
funny thing.
Chris says,
As
that's
they
the
say, we're getting
reporting.
6.
That's the reporting. That is the rumour around the campfire is this is way advantageous in terms of numbers to Celtic, and yet it was Rangers who did an interview or whatever it was with that board guy who's basically gone, "We need to do this because the money's so good." Mate, I think the board have made a business call, right? Which on paper it makes sense for them. I think, as I say, if you cut all the bullshit and you're just a businessman, it makes sense for both clubs, right? I know there's a lot more to it than that. I'm just saying, in that prism, it makes total sense. 8 days, Rangers can make the same amount of money they do in an SPFL season. Celtic can make treble it, right? But that's not Rangers' problem. They're just going, well, that's still double our TV money for the year. Just, do you know what I mean? Playing domestic teams. Sound. But the backlash that's happening is, it initially came from us, and I almost feel like there was a Celtic take on this that going, just wait, just wait. The juicy bits are about to come out. I know you're angry, but wait. And right now, that's spinning almost not out of control, but when you've got ex-chairman coming out hounding the board, you've got fans on the phone-ins every night hounding this decision. It's now someone's leaked that Celtic are getting this extra money without even being officially announced, and they're basically the support act. It's all now you're going, and it's now been named by the A-League as Angie's World Tour. And it's when the league sees there's only 3 points between us. I'm sitting now going, oh, this is all very clever.
I genuinely never ever thought of it that way, Bhoycie, and I think that's an excellent point. And see, now that you've said it, it's a stroke of genius if that's the case. The $2.5 million pay for Randy's video.
The timing, though, the timing is everything. Like, what are they thinking? Getting a director to do a big statement, justify going on a tour to our manager's home country that's called the Ange Ball World Tour, to say, well, basically saying the exact money they're getting, because he says it equates to the TV deal we get in Scotland over a season. We can make it in 8 days. Who is tuning these people in to what's going on in the park? There's 3 points in it. There's a title race, you dafty, and you've just told the world you're our support act, and you live in Angie's shadow, and he's only won a League Cup. It's magical. It is magical.
That is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Anyway, it's time to do it. And it is that time. Now, I'll update the leaderboard next week, because I need to watch back a few shows. Because
I'm dreading this.
I can't remember half the scores. Don't worry, mate. Sorry.
I saw the boy on it the other week who almost a perfect score, man. He's going to take some.
So don't worry about that then. I think that's a good thing. See, when someone gets almost the perfect score, John, I think the pressure's then off, because the chances of beating that are nigh on impossible.
I just need to beat Stephen. That's my goal, my target. But no, listen, if anybody notices,
I like that.
We do the Quiz and the Endless Celts thing as well. And anybody that's watched it knows I am absolutely shocking at quizzing. I don't try and hide it. I don't deny it. Like, I own up to it. I am useless. Putting me on the spot with questions, I just go blank. It's just...
Right.
So, we'll see. If I get one right, I'll be happy.
Don't you worry, my boy. You'll be fine. And again, I'd like to thank Microsoft Windows for sponsoring the stop clock. Really good at Bill Gates and co. I don't know how to do stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? But there we go. Can we see it? Oh, there she is. Hey. Right. I better get the quiz up. I think Bob McBob says I was showing some conjecture there. Just being honest, mate. I mean, I get why you guys are raging. I'm on your side if you like. I'd be raging if I was in your shoes too. I wouldn't have Celtic going to Holland on Gio's, I don't know what you call it, Gio's Jolly Boys tour. You know what I mean? I get a third of the loot. No way. So I would be angry as well. But do you know what? Know your place. I'm only teasing. I just like saying stuff like that. Right, sorry, my laptop's in the road of my screen. It looks like I'm trying to steer away. Right. You ready to play Double Doon, mate? Do you want me to go through the rules?
You can run through them, but
Three lifelines. Double Doon. You'll get double points for it if you double doon. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's simple, but you need to call it before I've read the question. Don't hear the question and go, oh, I like that one, double doon. No. I'll say question 1, question 2, and then I'll read out the questions. You know what I mean? You've got a wee pause in there where you need to call it, but don't forget to call it. I actually had to encourage someone to use it the other week. Unbelievable. Now,
how many? 6 questions, right?
6 questions, mate. They go up in terms of points as well, but they do increase in difficulty as well. Quicker you finish the quiz, the better. If you do it in under a minute, 50 points. Between 1 and 2 minutes, 40 points. Between 2 and 3, 20 points. There's so many comments flying in. I'll try and cover some of it if it's not all too. Brian O'Neill comes in. Not the Brian O'Neill, sadly. He's missed my wit and my banter. Your sponsor will take you to hell, man. I doubt that, but I've been enjoying I enjoyed quite a week this week. But it is good to be back. It is good to be back on the bus. I'm back with a bang. Talking about, wait for the Bhoycie Bus World Tour. That's all I'm saying, right? If you think that's bad, Big John Tomlinson's going back to enter Celts for £2.5 million. Right. We better get on with this. Ready to play? 3,
Aye, let's go.
2, 1. Question 1. Who is the only striker to score a hat-trick for Celtic in 2022?
Kyogo.
Question number 2. Name the French left-back who started against them, Rangers, in the 6-2 win in 2000.
Say that again.
It's on the screen. Name the French left-back who started the 6-2 win. Set up Chris Sutton for the last goal.
Pass.
That's all right. That's all right, mate. Question number 3. What year did John Barnes take over at Celtic?
99.
Question number 4. Name the side to knock Celtic out of Europe in the 03-04 season. Now, the reason that season's important is because it's the last year we'd won a knockout tie. Remember, it had been 18 years? Who knocked us out?
AC Milan.
Question number 5. What shirt number did Sean Maloney wear for Celtic in his first spell?
17.
It's not the worst guess. That's not the worst guess. Right, you need to call it.
Aye, Double Doon.
Stephen Craigan scores an OG in the 2011 Scottish Cup final. Name one of the 2 players who scored for Celtic. Forget the 2 players. Name one of the 2 who scored for Celtic in the 3-0 win. Think of the era. Neil Lennon's in charge.
I'm struggling. It's Scott Brown. I'm fucking struggling.
Mate,
honestly,
that's tough. It is tough.
It's even worse when you're on the clock as well, and you're like, I need to try and get through this. I apologise to everybody.
No, I cannot wait. I'm just waiting. Stephen, Francis, the lot, they are going to be.
Stephen got much easier questions.
Look.
What's this one?
William.
Nice one, William. Cheers. Thanks for the support, mate.
This is too good. And as Phil McGinley rightfully says, he says, the crown is safe for another week. Phew.
It was never under any threat, mate.
I don't think the Jester's hat's safe for another week too.
Is there an award for the worst performance?
We'll find one for you, don't worry. I need to make you feel a wee bit better. Fuck me. That was hard. Do you know what?
Mate,
we'll
honestly.
start positively. You got it in under 2 minutes, so you bang off the money, 40 points in the bank. Well done, right?
I'll take
Then
it.
it goes downhill for you. Who's the only striker to score actually for Celtic in
Giakoumakis.
2022? It's right. Do you know what I mean?
I know as soon as I say it,
Kyogo's
I
not
fucked
played
it.
in
I
2022.
know. As soon as I said it, I knew I'd fucked it.
But it puts you on that. Remember I was talking about results festering? Remember?
That's
That
it.
is what
All doing
happens,
healthy
mate.
here.
Bad result in a question and it festered. Name the French left back. Have you got any idea now? No.
No.
Bit before your time, maybe? Stéphane Mahé?
I know Mahe, but I would never got it.
Yep. Fair enough. John Barnes, you got right, 1999. So that's another 20 points. Yes. So we knock out Barcelona in the 03-04 season.
Was
We
it?
then face Alan Thompson scores, like that wee scissor kick sort of thing. We then face further Spanish opposition with a guy called Senna in midfield who was an absolute Rolls Royce. He must have been about 28, 29. He was Brazilian. I think he played for Spain though, but he was Brazilian. He held midfield with Riquelme. Villarreal knocked Celtic out in the UEFA Cup quarterfinals in 2004. What shirt number does Sean Maloney wear? I knew by then we were in big soapy bubble. But I always ask a shirt number every week. So folk, there is a method to it if folk were to put the time in like Phil McGinley did. He's number 29, mate. He was number 29 when he scored against Stuttgart, for example. Things like that. And then Stephen Craigan scored an OG. Name the two players. I thought you'd have got this one. Ki Sung-young scored an absolute belter, mate. That Scottish Cup final.
That.
There was a bit of rain. Oh, he strikes it into the box. And Charlie Mulgrew, I'm sure it was his free kick, curler at the far post top corner. But I thought you might have got one of them. Anyway, 60 points.
Like I say, I generally just go blank at that point. I'm just guessing.
I know. See, to be fair, I do get that as well. And there is pressure. There is pressure. I did your quiz. I'm sure I beat who did I play? Was it William I played? I think it was William I played. And I got beat with a split decision.
The boys know
and he was raging.
The boys know their stuff. That's why I think I've won once. And by the way, just because Ross was taking the piss.
Go on. I
Ross,
want this.
You are still my only. You're the only person that lost to me on the Endless Celts quiz. Just bear that in mind.
Oh, well, we know Ross has to join the queue, and he can get on the Bhoycie bus as well. Anyway, what a fantastic night it's been. I've really enjoyed the chat tonight. I know I've probably spoken a wee bit too much, but John, you've been brilliant guest, mate. Really enjoyed your company. I will be on. I think your pod next week is the plan. Hopefully, if you'll have me.
Absolutely, anytime, man. Anytime. You know you're welcome.
Just inviting myself now. I think I'm coming on Tuesday.
I think you've hit that level. You can do that now.
I can.
By the way, I'm coming on.
Yes. Anyway, guys, what a night it's been. Again, huge thanks to fanboyfootball.com for sponsoring the Bhoycie Buzz, as well as I suppose Microsoft Windows. Thanks to everyone in the comments. It's been very, very busy tonight in the comments, which is brilliant because that's what keeps the bus's wheels rolling. The Double Doon Show, yet again, another success, yet another viewer getting the opportunity to come on the show. You all know how this works. Get in touch with me because I am always constantly filling dates. I shouldn't be coming to you. Get on the bus, enjoy it. John, would you recommend coming on the show?
Absolutely, mate. Love it. Loved it. And if you, like I said, like if you're anything like me and you don't care about embarrassing yourself in the quiz either, just go for it. Can I just say as well, Bhoycie, I appreciate you obviously taking the time to get us on, because like I says, and you've been a supporter of yours for day one. You were the first guest on our show, so I appreciate that, mate. And I hope to, like you say, we hope we get you back on shortly. Like you say, I think it is next. I think it will be next week. So keep your eyes peeled for that, boys.
I'll look forward to it on the Endless Celts. Anyway, thanks to everyone who's listening on Spotify right now as well, because I know a lot of you do now this podcast thing. Brilliant. Everyone who's watched a dodgy Paisley Pattern t-shirt, it's no Paisley Pattern. I'll see you all later. What a night on the Bhoycie Bus as always. Let's play some music. See yous.
Some of his comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now. And you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan.